12 minutes past 9. We're off to Melbourne City now to get the latest from New Science Magazine, newscientistsmagazine.com with Janine Young. Good morning, Janine.
Good morning, Wammo. How are you?
Very good, thank you. First up, we're chatting about the immune system. And, of course, all that stands between you and a pack of hungry microbes is your immune defences. There is some research and some tips from you scientists to keep yourself in peak condition.
Absolutely. We are after your health and well-being here. We don't want anybody getting sick and all that sort of stuff. So there's only so much that you can do to make your immune system different from the way you already are. Your age, your gender, where you were born, your background, your genes, all that sort of stuff, where you live will make a difference as to how you function and how it works. But there are some things that you can do to make your system function just a little bit better. For example, if you feel a cold coming on, the only clinically proven, or at least evidence-based supplement that you can take to try and prevent the cold is zinc. Wow. There's been a lot of talk for a long time about vitamin C and orange juice and echinacea and all of that. All they do is reduce the severity. They don't actually prevent the cold coming on in the first place. Okay. So you can take a bit of zinc to give yourself a bit of a boost along the way. But you have to do that within the first 24 hours of feeling the first symptoms. So there you go. That's your first top tip for the day. Taking probiotics, those yogurt drinks that they advertise on telly. Yeah. There's some evidence that apparently they can also make a bit of a difference to your gut health. And Kiwi listeners know all about gut health because we've talked about the bacteria in our gut several times now, so I'm not going into any more detail on that.
I think we've talked about exchanging microbes in the gut, haven't we? Yeah.
A couple of times, and I don't know any other groups of people, or indeed my friends, that I've talked about quite so frequently. Anyway, the other really important thing that you can do, and even I didn't realise this one, is get enough vitamin D into your system. Now, you can get some of that through dairy and through eating fish and the like, but the most efficient way to get vitamin D is to get sunlight onto your skin. Now, it's extremely important for keeping your immune system in check. Now, we also know about, bone strength and calcium absorption and all that sort of thing. I know that I'm vitamin D deficient and have been for a very long time. I'm very pale. I don't tend to go into the sun. That's part of it. But it's really important to get enough because with this immune regulation role that it plays, if you don't get enough vitamin D, then it can put you at a greater risk of breast, prostate and colon cancer. Okay. Apparently the risk of getting internal cancers is up to 4 times greater than a skin cancer if you don't get enough vitamin D. So the recommendation is to go out into sun 2 to 3 times a week for about a quarter of the time that it would take to redden your skin. So they're not advocating going out and sunbaking because obviously that increases your sun cancer risk, but it is really important to be able to get enough vitamin D into your system. So there you go. That's a really important one that even I hadn't realised. Keep your stress down. Get enough sleep. That's really, really important as well because stress and not enough sleep are actually equivalent through cortisol and noradrenaline if you don't get enough. Now, all the parents in the house are going to sit there going, yeah, right, and I'm among them. You do the best you can. That's all you can say. You keep your stress levels down. You eat well. Lots of fruit and vegetables. A lot of it's actually very sensible, straightforward stuff. Don't party too hard. Don't take illicit drugs. Get enough exercise. Sounds all very dull, frankly, but it helps.
But I guess also what you're saying is that a lot of the stuff really can't be sorted out by supplements. You really have to do it the natural way.
You've got to suck it up and do it the hard way. Yes, unfortunately. It's not... There are no quick fixes in life, I think is probably the lesson that we've come to, certainly from the last couple of years and everything I've been looking at. Basically, if you want good health, then you need to do enough exercise, you need to eat enough fruit and vegetables, don't have too much saturated fat, get enough sleep. As I said, it sounds all very dull, but, if you value your health... then that makes a big difference. Also, when you get older, a really important one, don't be lonely. Have lots and lots of friends. Okay. Loneliness when you get older is a killer because your immune system doesn't function as well when you get older. So make sure, again, you get enough exercise, keep your brain active, blah, blah, blah. But lots of friends is really, really important because the stress of loneliness and the like can actually contribute to ill health when you get older.
Well, they say, if you're happy, then you're probably going to be healthier and live longer as well. Hey, but let's go back in time. Now we're going back to caveman time, and I noticed a lot of stories about fire popping up in the news this week about when humans discovered fire or the ability to light fires. But this, of course, was all linked into cooking, wasn't it?
Fire was really important for being able to cook food, yes. No one actually knows at this point precisely when hominins were able to control fire. For a long time, it's thought that they were probably able to opportunistically take fire that they found, from lightning strike or something like that. The question is when. And there's been some work done in South Africa in a cave called the Wonderwerk Cave. I love that name. I think it's great. There's no evidence of a hearth or anything like that. The earliest hearths are, 400,000 years old, and there's one in Israel that potentially could be 790,000, which is still pretty old, but, that's the best evidence that they have so far. And they think in this cave, by analysing the sediments on the cave floor, that they've found evidence of ash and burnt bone. Now, burnt bone could be an accident. Someone could have fallen into it, except for the fact that there's tortoise bones in there. So it would suggest that anything that was moving that they could cook and eat, they did. I mean, obviously, if it's got 4 legs and it moves, that's dinner. There's only so much you can do when a million years ago. So the suggestion is that possibly it was Homo erectus that was opportunistically taking fire. They don't think they were probably able to control it at that point, but being able to take it inside the cave, because it's 30 metres from the entrance, so it's unlikely to be fires that are lit by lightning or anything like that. So the theory is that fire was potentially being used for cooking 1 million years ago.
Wow.
This ties in, they think, with evidence, and although the evidence is a bit mixed because you don't have the correlation between the anatomical evidence and the hearth evidence here, the ash evidence, that molars shrank and our skulls grew, which means our brains were getting bigger, 1.9 million years ago. So that's an extra 900,000 years. That doesn't necessarily take account of whether or not there's fire. But the suggestion is that that's when cooking began, because you don't have to work quite so hard to digest your food when you cook it. It makes it a lot easier. You don't have to work as hard, and that then frees your brain to be able to grow. You have access to more nutrients. Cooking is actually a really good thing if you want to try and get extra nutrients out of your food. So there's not a big correlation between the anatomical evidence and this evidence in the cave, but it certainly takes it back by another 210,000 years, certainly 600, from what people knew before. So it's not confirmed, but it's certainly very interesting evidence.
The timeline, just the mind boggles. That's been some really interesting stuff there, Janine, and thanks very much for that. People can find out those stories and more about them in the New Scientist magazine, the next issue, and newscientist.com. We'll catch up with you next week.
See you next week.